Hello everyone. Today's talk will focus on a condition in which the human being finds himself in. This is a condition which is a natural phenomenon, and it occurs based on how you're placed in social construction. Or in other words, how society, in a sense, places you in a social setting. In a social setting, you must see that you are a being who has an internal reality. There are some things that are real to you. For example, if I bring an apple, the images and the memories and the things you see of an apple are things that are relevant to your experience. Somehow you know them, that somehow they're there. So this is your internal experience, and these are pretty much things you've seen from, let's say these are the things you've seen your whole life. This whole life can have different senses of time and space. Now, your internal view is that part of you where it's, for example, how you've seen a sunset and you can't explain it to someone else. You can explain it very close, but you can't give them the actual experience. So it's something you have received. It's you are aware of it. Now there is external reality in the sense that you are aware of other people which are being real. For example, if you did not want to listen to someone, and you took that more on a deeper level, it's as if you did not want to even look at certain aspects of their reality. So it's very important to see that in any area of communication, you must be able to stop your own interpretation of what's going on and to observe and see how others are interpreting, and having a new wave of information come at you by your mere ability to stop and observe. I have noticed in life when things get hectic, like the minute if everything's getting too hectic, I will slow down my speed a little bit actually. Just for a few seconds to observe what's going on and then accelerate at the fastest. And the whole reason I'm saying this is because in communication, we are thrown into realities where sometimes we are not driving the reality. It's as if that person who committed a crime, it's no longer his fault. The state has it, for example. And he goes into prison. So similarly, you can be taken by other people's reality, but it depends on what your interest is as a being. I mean, look at the human being. The human being is not here just to be. It's here to do multiple things, and all these multiple things of it doing are cultivated. An aspect of this multiple things it's doing is the fact that it's new. The fact that it's a new experience. So we see if we become stagnant, if we're not constantly active and our minds are not active, the decay becomes in the lack of change in reality. Whether we're internally accepting it and going inside, we're going, in dark rooms, and it's unnecessary to be in the darkness because you are the one choosing to be in realities that are unnecessary. So what that means is things escalate, and this is life, and as much as you plan, spontaneous things are going to happen. Now, Mr.Within's, I guess in a sense, note on how we can handle the spontaneous moments of life is to make ourselves a very holistic receiver and a calm one as well. Because in calmness and gentleness, it's not that our problems are gone, it's just that our awareness to them is greater because we're more aware of the movement. I mean, think about it. If you're in a room with someone else and both of you are talking, if you stop talking, the other person's voice will get louder than you. Your attention will automatically be more, and so the person will be real. So similarly in life, a lot of people have wondered what's going on, and so they've become silent. And when they've become silent, there has been a transparency that has given them the vision that they are beyond their limiting beliefs. Because limitation is placed there because a sense of self doesn't want to get off the mirror, or get away from in front of the mirror. Because self-reflection is how reality is fixed to then feel as if this is it. What I can understand is that I'm alive, and so there's a difference between life and death. An object and a lot of our mechanics is telling me how life it has some aspects that don't have life. They are simply just objects, they don't have life, But when I look at the nature of the being, the consciousness of the individual is the whole thing. How can there be separation? And so you see, it's the level of comfort you have in how much abstraction you want to work with. What that means is perhaps our sciences could evolve if we had more madmen in our sciences. You know, people who would take spontaneous routes and try to connect lines that have never been connected before. People who go, you know, and this at the same time may go against the traditional view of where science is heading, but tradition should never limit the future. In the sense that certain traditions are not providing humanity with the understanding of its true multidimensional nature. And this is not even certain, it's just all ideology and the relationship that many human beings have with ideology. It's a crazy moment when you realize that there is the concept of re-experience. So what that means is you're observing your experience. Let's say right now I'm running. And so this is an experience of running, and I'm running in the park at full speed, and suddenly I stop. When I stop, it's like that moment where a whole activity of meaning has finally just been put to end. It's like that moment where you saw in that Chinese festival, those people carrying the dragon, you know. It was a long dragon, for example, you know, and so they were carrying it around as if one aspect of it was continuing and another aspect was in a new way moving around. We are extensions of always greater understanding, because that is how our understanding is evolved. It has the potential to evolve. When you look at the potential, you're looking at that moment where from the formless, manifestation has occurred in form. This is a thing that science will never reach, because science is accepting only one side of the spectrum. Because individuality is one side when the other was always the observer of the individual. We must begin to understand now that human is self-aware to a point where he's aware his moment of being provides him with possibilities that can, in a sense, that are touching the infinite. And so where is the untouched realization of man that his real eyes were not things to look for, but things to look, in a sense, from? In other words, if you were to look at the origin of your awareness and you were just, you know, a person in a park and someone asked you, what's the origin of your awareness? And you were just like, what the hell, origin of awareness, what do you mean? And you just thought about it, you'd see the origin of your awareness would be that question, which is perhaps the greatest question ever asked for mankind. It's the question that is saying, where did you come into existence? Forget all the explanations. What is the complete presence of my awareness here? And when you begin asking these questions, it's as if like you've been using only the finger, and now you're realizing you had your whole body to use. And so this finger we use could very simply be said to be the ideas of self we have now, which are so fixed. And these ideas are, in a sense, our finger in a pool, because there's a relationship which kind of, some aspect of our relationships can be very objectively understood because it's as if their boxes are still formed. But some questions, the question is formed, but the answer is a formless experience. And so this is the most crucial thing to understand, because the etiquette of how you approach what is true for you suggests how much you perceive. There have been people who've gotten great inclinations to look within their heart of hearts and to see their true nature, but suddenly they have stopped. Why? Because it seemed unfit. And when life gives you an experience and you say it's unfit, if you're rude enough for life giving you an experience of something, whether it's suffering, whether it's joy, whatever, and you saying that I didn't want that, I didn't need that, is not natural. Our complaints are not natural. Our presence is. So the way we utilize language and understanding who we are is creating an illusion which we're too convinced to be in. There are a couple options you can do. I want you to visualize the condition of the world right now as one where some very few people have just broken a vase on the ground. The vase is shattered into pieces and the whole world wants to block, but they're like, oh gosh, it's shattered into pieces. You know, how can we fix this? Some people are trying to fix this vase. Some people are wondering, oh my God, they're standing outside the area of the vase and they're just watching and they're like, what can we do? But there are some who recognize that the newest idea is the greatest idea. And the newest idea is a possibility beyond the impossibility. So what that means is it's that moment where you as that kid just do the biggest Olympic jump over this broken glass, you know. And you simply see it's a matter of attention to what is there. And perhaps after you have jumped, you go get a tool that could help you out. You need to have first the comfort in your hands before you can have tools. Spirituality for a lot of people in which their experiences have image, in other words, they're like, okay, I know the self beyond this because I've had an experience that's shown me beyond this. That's cool. But you need to become aware of the hands. You need to become aware of your present moment. When something happens in your life that fluctuates your consciousness, that suddenly you become aware of things in ways you never were before, it is an important moment. It's an important moment for you to clearly stop, not stop everything physically, but in a sense, just become very observant to the process of life that you're living. For a lot of the time, a lot of our suffering comes from simple mistakes, and these simple mistakes are in perception. They're not in action. Actually, the physical body listens well to the mind. Can you imagine if our mind was doing something else and our body was doing something else? They're aligned. And because they're aligned, it's because we are becoming aware of the origin of awareness. What that means is like that moment where there was perhaps cake on your face because someone hit you with a pie and pie chart. You would suddenly see that a mirror will be your greatest gift. A mirror will be your greatest lesson. Mr. Within is here to, in a sense, teach nothing through everything. And how I'm going about that is I understand that some lessons are asking you to objectify things, to solidify things. I'm asking you to integrate things. So when you look around, don't say that's a separate thing. I mean, you've been doing that your whole life. For the first time, just see what the experience of a unified being would be. See how you experience yourself walking in a park and just closing your eyes and seeing, wow, if you never had vision, how could you see separation in the spectrum? Do you know? So before the spectrum, in your silence, you have the greatest ability you need to live in this life. All this physicality is an external attempt to, in a sense, find new planes of existence. In some manner, this is not something I want to say too firmly, but I want to say that it's as if when you look at human consciousness, it is now moving from human imagery to what is the actuality of consciousness. And that's a direct experience where in that dissolution, there's a possibility of a great emergence. So it's as if those moments where I stepped back and once I saw the problem, the answer was just always there. That's it. If you do not have trust in your life, you cannot enhance your mind. And so what I mean by that is that we all need space, you know? We all need space. For example, you want to put a new couch in your room, you need space for it. Now, if you don't have space, you will see that your activities and your intentions will go only a certain amount and stop. Before doing any activity, you must be very firm in perceiving the most realist I want to say view, but I feel it's as if we're walking on the edge of something that's really leading to a sense of transparency. Anyways, I'm going to get back to it. Reality gives you your face. It shows you your face. Every time you talk to someone, every day you breathe, reality is showing you who you are. Now, it is very important how you consciously integrate your views to then see what the meaning of life is, not from breaking it apart, and not in a sense from fixing it, but to integrating the spectrums that you have separated. So if let's say human ideology was simply, we just came and we just had a bunch of marbles and we just constantly threw these marbles on the ground, let's say, we would see we are extending worlds out of worlds already extended. And if we do not have the playful seriousness and intensity to go find our direct experience of life, then we are not giving ourselves a permission to be more than a character in the story. And so the storyteller will always feel like an external power. I want human beings to walk in this life in a way where they are aware of life, where they have no regrets because they are working in a way where their mind is incorporating everything. Insanity is a limited concept when you're looking at the evolution of a species. Insanity does not exist. Insanity is simply how the species is interpreting certain amounts of its behavior. And if it's not evolved, oh gosh, the species didn't do its homework into updating its awareness. So how the species can do its homework in updating its awareness is for each individual to understand why their individuality implies a collectivity. How are you calling yourself this separation? How does your internal and external experience all present themselves in the moment that is now? What does transparency and transcendence mean? Where does silence and stillness lead? Where does movement and noise lead? As you ask these questions, this is how you are creating space for yourself. Because I've noticed problems sometimes remain quiet. Problems sometimes don't speak up. So what that means is the problem is just silently there waiting as if like, is this guy going to realize I have a problem here? You know? And so it's very important for you to see that your playful approach to do beyond the amount that you're doing will move you forward. So what that means is think of that person who was like, that is why the juggernaut image is very intense. Because regardless of the communication, it's as if like, for example, even a tank is coming forward. It's not stopping. So when you realize your playfulness approach to observe life gives you a dynamic state of awareness where you're flying into new experiences and having the ability as an advanced communicator to be observant of them all simultaneously through your external reference is a very great achievement. It is something where it is not, you should not have an expectation on how life should treat you. Because life is giving you a lot of things and your expectation is coming from a little part of it. Your experience is one that jumps into the unknown realms of totality. You will experience certain states of being that your state of being will give you the understanding of what is right for your humanity. Because your state of being shows you different abilities. And you see, you as a being have an ability to make this physical body like an object. You have an ability to run it in very clumsy in a sense that your body's unhealthy. Your environment is constantly keeping thoughts in your mind that are unnecessary, you know. And you forget yourself but somehow find yourself in your luxury. It's very important to see that we want to go beyond limitation. And limitation means it's not going to be comfortable. Grab a pack. This is worse than the zombie apocalypse. What I'm talking about is you going to the essence of yourself. You going to the core of who you are. This is where you are asking questions no one has ever asked and no one has ever answered. That is the responsibility of an existential explorer, of a being who is here to explore through its being. When personality melts, when ideas and identification melts, and you begin to see that you're not an individual grass, but you're the whole field, your understanding of your ability changes because you're giving ability to many different senses of life. So similarly, once in my subtler realms, one sense of infinity that I have is that on my subtler planes, I become aware of the self, I become aware of the other, and it suddenly taps into a flow of my own thinking. In other words, I can't really tell you how the thinking goes, but it's just my trust makes it flow. So my trust is that concept where I was telling you I have more space. So I trust life, so I feel I have more space to express myself. If I don't trust life, I feel I don't have a state. But it's not an idea thing. It's as if You do not need to carry too much self-talk with you. Self-talk is actually unnecessary, because its necessity is created through a sense of awareness where self-talk is relevant. You must have an ability to sit in a dark room and to also sit in a room where the lights are on, and to also get out of that room when you're looking for new windows, you know, or new windows of opportunity. I don't know. You know, it's like being in a dark room and also being in a white room. You know, imagine having the room be suddenly lit up, and also having the ability to get out of it. So you must always have an ability to observe beyond your holographic projection, in the sense that if the room is dark, if you're in the worst condition, you can always get out of the room, and you must always be aware that if you're choosing to remain in the room, this room, which is this plane of existence, your choice, it's just become comfortable, just become aware that you're beyond the conceptions that are created in a limited way. As you become the clarity that has always walked forward, direction will become meaningless, because your reality is integrated. In a sense where your gaze belongs to the cosmos. Bob might be thinking that this is Bob's life, but Bob is a presence. Bob perceives. And as Bob perceives reality, he will see that, just like how real he can see the difference of how he's not real, you know, the difference of how, for example, that object in front of him is not real, he would suddenly see that he has the same ability and the same potency to accept the opposite side of the spectrum. Beyond man's conclusions, there is an answer that is him. And it is your newest moment. Never forget novelty, and always be excited about the steps you've taken. Much blessings and namaste.